Hey everyone, Darian Veal, Exit Realty, here at an undisclosed location. We had to do a quick pivot today, but I am here with Dave Piatek with Waterman Bank.
Yes, sir.
With Waterman Bank, and today, in today's video installment, we are going to be discussing VA loans. Who qualifies, who doesn't qualify, how they work. If you've seen my previous installments, we've talked about different loan packages that other different lenders offer. We've talked about mortgages in general. We've talked about renovation loans, and today we are going to touch on VA loans. So I'm going to stop talking and let my good friend Dave take it away.
Well, thank you again. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm a loan officer at Waterman Bank, specializing in VA home loans. I've been doing this for about 18 years, and I've been serving in the military for 15 years. So still currently on serving in the National Guard. So still about 5 years left before retirement. Cannot wait for that, but thank you for bringing me on because there's so many misconceptions around the VA home loan, right? From consumers having the wrong information to realtors, not working with veterans, even as simple as that any condo can be VA approved with a waiver. So it's pretty crazy that a lot of people don't know that, and it just opens up opportunities. So yeah, I'll let you ask the questions. I mean, I could sit here for 6 hours and talk, but we don't want to do that.
Right, of course, right. We want to kind of keep it simple, short and simple. Yeah. So obviously, first question is, who qualifies for a VA loan? You don't necessarily have to be a retired veteran to qualify, right?
That's a good one. So you have couple different components. You have active duty veterans that need to serve at least 6 months on active duty, and then they already qualify for their benefits. And then you have National Guard members and reservists, which typically is going to be 6 years of service when you do your, one weekend a month plus 2 weeks annual training. Then you qualify for your VA home loan. Now, if you served before, then it supersedes it. You can use the VA loan. National Guard members have it a little bit different. They actually can qualify much sooner with new parameters that they came out a couple years ago. So definitely some opportunities there. Also, surviving spouses of veterans can use the VA home loan, which is another big one. But yeah, a lot of veterans also think that their benefits expire if they don't use them after a while. I just did a VFW conference and people were like, I could still use it. And I'm like, yeah, there's no time limit on that.
Gotcha. And what about, and again, my knowledge of the military is somewhat limited, but I do know there's a difference between discharges, honorable discharge, dishonorable discharge. Is there dishonorable discharge, honorable discharge? Do they both qualify or not?
Yeah, so a very specific, good question that people don't ask that. So if you get off of active duty, you need a honorable or general discharge. For National Guard and Reserve members, they have to have an honorable discharge. Now, there's ways that you can upgrade your discharge because, there's veterans that might have PTSD and they get in trouble and it's not diagnosed in service, and then they later get a service connection for it. You can go back and ask for an update because you were discharged. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, and that's very important. And so when it comes to down payments, I know a lot of people know about FHA loans, 3.5% down, conventional loans, 20% down. There's different down payment amounts. How do VA loans work in terms of down payment amounts?
Well, if you want to buy a $5 million home with no money down, you can do that. So that's kind of the power of the VA loan. So now, different sets of rules, but if you don't have an outstanding VA home loan, and you're eligible, which is meeting the time and service and character of discharge that we talked about, and you're qualified, do you meet the income, credit, asset, collateral requirements, you can buy a $5 million home, no money down, no joke. So there's no limit, especially when you look at Chicagoland. I had a buddy of mine buy a $2 million property in Lincoln Park, a 4-unit. He only pays $500 a month because of the cash flow on that property. And that's why you have to look at the whole picture. Never disqualify yourself. Always talk to a professional. You can reach out to me and walk you through that process. But yeah.
Gotcha. Wow, you said $2 million and $500 a month?
Well, yeah, just because the rent rolls would cover it.
Right.
And we have a lot of people that can buy properties that have zero mortgage payments and they live in it because it cash flows. And like another big thing is that veterans don't realize with 100% disability rating from the VA, it opens up the door because in theory, if you manage, not in theory because I just did a whole video on it, if you have 100% disability rating and you manage your debt very well, okay, not buying cars that have $2,000 car payments, please don't do that or stop doing that, and you have good credit and you have reserves because you've saved money, just on 100% permanent total disability rating, you can qualify up to $1 million receiving $4,000 a month in income only.
Wow.
So there's there's a lot of opportunities and, you know, yeah.
Well, do you, and so we're going to get somewhat off topic, but you mentioned you were at a VFW conference, and some people don't know that they can still use their benefits. Do you run into veterans that are, I shouldn't say veterans, do you just run into military active or inactive that are unaware that VA loans exist?
You know, I would say in today's world, people understand that they have a benefit. But what the crazy part is that I'll be like, hey, why don't you come to my seminar? Or sometimes they're forced to, because if I do them on active duty installations, they're like, I don't want to take this. I already know about my benefits. And then we go through the class and they're like, wait a second, I didn't realize any of this. And the same thing happened at the VFW conference. I jumped into a meeting to do a presentation. People were leaving and I started talking. And people actually, they're like, wait a second, I thought that you couldn't do that. So that they sat back down and went through it just because benefits change over time. And one thing that veterans don't realize is that when you get off of active duty or even like through the Guard, you go through what's called the TAPS program, which is the Transition Assistance Program, okay? You go through it, like I went through it a couple of times. The thing is that veterans can go back to doing those TAPS classes. It's a life benefit. You can go to any military base and redo and learn about all your benefits and all the new things that are available to veterans that they don't realize that they have.
Wow. And so let me ask you another question. So let's say we get a veteran active military qualifies for a VA loan. What happens in the event you are on a VA loan and you foreclose? Are you then forbidden from ever getting a VA loan again?
No, so another great question. So the thing is that it depends on how much the loan was for and how much entitlement was locked out. The confusing thing is that if you don't have a VA loan, you could buy a $5 million place, no money down. You have a VA loan, it goes back to the old rules. Then it's like you have a cap on how much you can have, and anything over that requires a down payment. So we see people that have had foreclosures a handful of times every month, okay? But they still have a ton of money left in their eligibility to buy a property with no money down.
Gotcha.
I would say in today's market, if you were to foreclose, you'd basically eat up your full entitlement, but you'd still be able to use the VA loan if you did a 25% down payment, right? But that's very circumstantial. Don't disqualify yourself. You know, reach out and we can go through it. But yeah, it's definitely possible.
And then,
it's a 2-year waiting period.
2 year, okay, 2 year wait. And so would that be the same situation? Let's say for whatever reason, let's say a single individual bought a house, foreclosed, got married to someone who was, qualified for a VA loan. Would that then, how does that work in terms of a foreclosure that wasn't a VA loan, but now they are attempting to get on a mortgage that is a VA loan?
Oh, so a couple things to that, because that does happen as well. If the veteran using their benefits, or let's step back. Let's say you use a conventional loan or an FHA loan, you foreclose, doesn't make a difference. Doesn't affect your eligibility for the VA loan. Doesn't affect any of it. But if you foreclose on a VA loan with your own benefits, but let's say you marry someone, they're a veteran, and you use their benefits, no bearing. So normally, it's whoever's first on the application is the one that's benefits are going to be used.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
Now, if you did a joint home loan application, we have 2 non-veterans or a veteran and a non-veteran buying together, a whole different story.
And so the other question I have is, so we know it's debt to income ratio, the kind of the typical things that you guys look for. Is there a minimum credit score that you're required to have for a VA loan, or is it just like, hey, you served, you qualify?
Well, so most people think that, right? They're like, if I served, I should be able to use the VA loan. But the VA does set parameters, right? So just because you're eligible, which most people are, but there's some that don't, which we can talk about, you still have to qualify, right? Like you still have to have a source of income to pay your bills. If you want to buy a, $500,000 property that has a $4,000 a month mortgage payment, but you make $5,000 a month, you can't
right,
use it, right?
Of course.
And credit is a factor in determining qualification. Now, the VA doesn't have a minimum credit score, but what they have in place in their guidelines is that you have to be you have to be on time for the last 12 months on your bills. So they look at some stuff. But even if you have credit blemishes, VA loan very flexible, typically down to 500 credit score. But it just it might change to a different type of loan, right? Because you have automated loans and manual loans. Again, that's like a whole separate discussion. And also I want to touch on credit. We've been working a lot with HUD consultants. So a lot of people don't. I don't know if it's smart to spend $200 for initial setup for a credit repair company and then pay them $100 a month, because they basically it's a scam in a way, because they basically dispute your accounts and then your credit score goes up. Temporarily you get off, it goes back up. HUD consultant, it's free, government's already paying for it. They do the monitoring, they look at your credit, they have housing workshops, so they put you back in as soon as you're ready. And a lot of times it's up to the individual to really take the reign and go with it and get the credit improved. Because with time and or money, you can fix credit, right? Because in 7 years, all the negative debt falls off. I think the challenge, for people at times, is when you relapse, you restart that cycle.
Right. Gotcha. And so I don't want to get too into the weeds on this, but just to be clear, so the VA doesn't technically, they're not the lender. They don't fund the loan, correct?
No. Well, the only time they do is with the Native American land loans.
Okay. Well,
but that's technical.
Right. That's.
But in general, VA does not do mortgages.
Right. So the VA doesn't do the mortgage, so they still have to go to you. So for you, example, Waterman Bank is who actually lends the money, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of confusion, because people are like, well, the VA denied me. We're like, wait a second, the VA doesn't do mortgages.
Right. I gotcha. Okay. I think that's it, man. I think this was super quick, simple, very informative. Can you tell everyone how they can get a hold of you, how they can reach you?
Yeah, good. If you guys want to get a hold of me, you can email me at david@watermanbank.com. So again, david@watermanbank.com. Happy to jump on a call and go over any type of questions you have. Or if you guys are interested in doing presentations, we do a ton of those for nonprofits and active duty, Guard and Reserve members. We'd be happy to come in and talk with you.
All right, fantastic. And as always, like the other videos, David's contact information will be in the comments underneath the video. All right. Thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time today.
Of course, you
too.
too.
All right, you guys, take care.
Bye.